Linden. Mark.
A little slow traffic left northbound I-15 towards the north interchange, and then again coming off the hill from Harrison Boulevard down to Highway 84, you'll find some slow traffic there. Bangor and Mountain View corridor still packed in from 126 to about 134 south. Two Brothers Mattresses, your Tempur-Pedic dealer. Right now, get a Tempur-Pedic for under $50 a month with 0% financing OAC. Visit one of their 5 stores or twobrothersmattress.com. Mark Christiansen in the KSL Traffic Center.
20 overnight for tomorrow. A little bit of sunshine and 35. Some inversion in the picture later this week.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good evening, 6 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. KSL's top local story this hour. The U.S. Supreme Court has chosen not to hear Utah's lawsuit over millions of acres of land controlled by the federal government. KSL News Radio's Adam Small with details.
The state's challenging whether the federal government can own and manage roughly a third of all the land in Utah without having a designated use for it. So that's the federal lands, not including things like national parks, monuments, and tribal lands. The governor and other state leaders say they're disappointed by the court's decision as they seek to get these lands back. But opponents to the suit tell me they're happy because they're worried these lands would be privatized and potentially developed or sold to the highest bidder if that happened.
The state says it wants to own and manage the lands, but protect them for public recreation. Our top national story from ABC News. While people are fleeing their homes in Southern California because of fire, thieves have been taking advantage. District Attorney Nathan Hochman says 10 people are now facing felony charges.
These are the people who are seeking to exploit this tragedy for their own benefit. These are people who have engaged in looting, arson.
Meantime, the Santa Ana winds are blowing again and a red flag warning has been issued. 24 people have now died in the fires. Coming up, we'll look at the forecast. It's going to get cold overnight. KSL's weather forecast is next. KSL News Time, 6:01.
Peyton was a very kind and giving person. At 15 years old, he sustained life-threatening injuries from a motorcycle accident that took his life. His family felt like Peyton would want to save others and made the decision to donate his organs. Because of their generosity, his organs saved a 2-year-old girl, a teenage boy, and others that were desperate in need of life-saving organs. Go to donorconnect.life and read about what it takes to become a donor. Did you know many people think that they're too old or not in good enough health to be a donor? Anyone can be a donor. If you were told that it could save the life for someone close to you, or even a stranger, would you donate? Finding out more on why you should become a donor is easy. DonorConnect.life can walk you through the process and what it takes to simply sign up. Check yes to become a donor when you renew your driver's license. Give hope. Heal life. DonorConnect.life.
It's first and goal at the 10-yard line with seconds left on the clock. Your running back is poised for a game-winning touchdown, but before you can make the snap, the opposing team just takes the ball and locks it inside a safe? Then they won't give you the combination unless you pay them $10,000? That's how ransomware works. And in 2021, 2 out of every 3 organizations fell victim to ransomware attacks. Protect your business with the Les Olson Security Suite from Les Olson IT. Learn more at lesolson.com.
Bigger stories demand more accountability, more experience, more trust.
If it's like an election day or we're expecting some bad weather,
KSL presents the story. Unbiased.
It's a good local source.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by My Style Checking from Mountain America Credit Union. Here's Ricky Meese.
It's still a little slushy in spots on I-15 in Salt Lake into Utah County going around the point of the mountain, and that's where we have slowdowns from the south interchange into Lehigh southbound Redwood Road. Also seeing a slow ride from Bluffdale to 2100 North. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL weather forecast, 20 overnight. Tomorrow, a little bit of sunshine. We're expecting 35. There might be some snow showers where you are right now. It's 29 in Salt Lake City. I'm Jeff Kaplan, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. Hello, Cougar Nation.
Handoff middle. First down. Every Monday night, we break down the Cougars' last game and look ahead to next week. Cougar Nation, brought to you by Central Bank. Here's BYU insider Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio.
Good evening, Cougar Nation. Welcome on into your show. Cougar Nation, every single Monday night, we're taking your phone calls to react to the latest in BYU sports. It's a BYU basketball edition, and the Cougars are facing tough times right now. 3-game losing streak, but I think better days lie ahead. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte here with you. It's been a tough stretch for these Cougar Hoopers, Matt.
It really has. 3-game losing streak. They're not scoring the ball well, Mitch, and there's a lot to break down. There's a lot of reasons why, and we'll do that over this next hour.
Let's do it right now, starting with our takeaways.
Cougar Nation takeaways. Mitch and Matt analyze BYU's last week of play and what it means for the next week.
0-2 week a week ago. They lost to Texas Tech last Tuesday at home, and that could be forgiven because Texas Tech, top 20 team in Ken Palm, really good basketball team. It's unexpected to lose at the Marriott Center, but hey, it happens. Sometimes a team gets hot and you lose a game, but then to go on the road to a mediocre TCU team on a Saturday afternoon, lose 71-67, those are the type of games you've got to win, Matt. TCU was a team that near the bottom of the Big 12 in terms of resume and metrics, and they come away with a loss in that one, and BYU changed up its starting lineup in that game and the groupings and the rotation, yet still came away with an L. What's your big takeaway from that loss at TCU?
My big takeaway, Mitch, is the injury to Yegor Demon, and his play since returning from the injury has really hurt this BYU basketball team. Demon is in a slump. There's no other way to say it. He's only shooting 28% from the field post-injury. He's only made 3 of 32 of his threes. That's single-digit percent, Mitch. That's 9%. And this is, I think, where I'm having a hard time with Yegor right now. And he's got to work through this, and they need him to get better if they're going to get to the tournament. His specialty is court vision and running an offense and getting people the ball. He's nearly averaging as many turnovers as assists right now, Mitch. And then on top of that, he's not rebounding the ball well. You look at the numbers in that loss against TCU, 8 points, 3 of 8 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3, 4 assists, 4 turnovers, 2 rebounds. He's supposed to be your best player. This is supposed to be a lottery pick. This guy has got to play better basketball if this team wants to get to the tournament. And so my takeaway is Yegor's in a slump. It's really hurting this basketball team, and hopefully Yegor and this coaching staff can find ways to get him back to what he was pre-injury. Because pre-injury, he was like rising draft boards, Mitch. He was like, at one point I thought he was like a number 2 or 3 pick in some mock drafts. I know those don't mean anything, but his stock was rising. Since the injury, he just has not looked anything like that guy we saw at the beginning of the season.
Finished -3 and plus/minus 4 BYU players in that loss against TCU in the starting 5 had a negative plus/minus in that game. This was Kevin Young earlier today on Yegor Demon's slump.
It's something I think about a lot, watching a lot of film, a lot of discussions with him and just people around him. You got to go through it, man. Sometimes the only way to go through it is just to go through it. I know that's super cliche, but, I think his shooting woes are probably weighing on him. I think he's in the last 2 games, outside of that last shot that he took at TCU, I think he's taken more of the right shots. I think he's in a pretty good rhythm offensively as it relates to just his attacking. He had a couple uncharacteristic turnovers that I know he'd want to have back, but he's got to go through it a little bit. I think some of these grouping changes that we're making will help him, and I expect him to bounce back. The one thing I love about him is, man, none of this has deterred him from working. He's one of the first guys in the gym. He's always in here early working on his game. He's extremely prideful. He wants to play better. And, you got to kind of go through this difficult period of time and just got to get on the other side of it.
Hopefully he gets on the other side here soon because BYU needs him. If BYU is going to be an NCAA tournament team, Matt, and right now they would not. They're 10-5 on a 3-game skid. They need Yegor Demon to be a star. One of my big takeaways coming out of that TCU game, it's going to be hard to win any game when you have 13 less field goals attempts than your opponent. TCU had 59 attempts. BYU only 46. The turnovers were costly in that game. 16 turnovers for BYU, only 6 for TCU. Some of them late were costly. Richie Saunders stepping out of bounds. BYU's got to take care of possessions because right now it's just they're not finding answers in the clutch.
And that leads me to my next takeaway, which is I thought Dallin Hall played his best game of the year. Only 6 points, but he's 2 of 4 from 3, 6 assists to 1 turnover. Right now, Dallin Hall is the best point guard on the team. Until Yegor Demon can figure out how to get out of this slump, Dallin Hall is your best option for running good offense. And maybe, I know he went to the bench in that game. Maybe you bring him back to the starting lineup, and he runs more of the action, maybe a little bit more than Yegor until Yegor figures it out. But to your point, the turnovers are deadly. They are absolutely deadly. They were minus 11 in that game against TCU. You need your point guards to take care of the ball. And last year I thought Dallin did such a great job initiating offense, taking care of the basketball. It's been a little up and down this year, and some of that's due to that injury he suffered before the season began. But I think he is on the rise. He's playing good basketball. I'd like to see him initiate offense a little bit more. If there was any positive takeaway from that game for me, because there weren't many. Obviously, Richie, unbelievable performance. But Dallin Hall, there was something there. I was really disappointed, Mitch, that on the possession in which Kevin Young referenced the bad shot from Yegor, and he hasn't taken many of these, so we don't need to rip him too much. But Dallin needed the ball there. He was playing much better basketball in that game. I would have loved to have seen a high pick and roll with Dallin. What comes of that? Because 6-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, that's what Hall had in the loss. That is something you can build on. That is exactly what you need to cut down those turnovers.
Kevin Young highlighted one of the lineups that he liked from that game against TCU that included Dallin Hall.
The lineup that I did really like was, Dallin, Trevin, Richie, Mawut, and Foose. That was the group that really pushed us to a nice little run there to end the first half. So what's the commonality with that group? You got a lot of veteran guys out there that know what they're doing.
That is beneficial, but BYU, I think, still needs those young guys. We'll talk more about that coming up a little bit later. My other takeaway, BYU is not an up-tempo team right now. And when you think of Yegor at his best, Dallin Hall at his best, BYU basketball to its core is at its best when it's an up-tempo team. Right now in Big 12 play, they're rated 16th in Ken Palm's tempo metrics, dead last in Big 12 play. So BYU's tempo, pretty slower than they were expecting this season. I think that's playing a part in them jumping out to this 1-3 start, Matt.
That's such a great point, Mitch, because think about last year's team and where they excelled. It was up and down the floor. They were pouring in the points. They were shooting a lot of threes. They were making a lot of threes. We just have not seen that very much. They got to find a way to get back to that. And Kevin Young's talked about that. They want to play with pace. They want to play with tempo. And for whatever reason, it could be the personnel groupings that Coach Young has talked about. It could be just those turnovers. I mean, when you have turnovers, it's hard to get out and run. There's no flow. It affects your defense. It affects everything. Turnovers are a disease, Mitch. It plagues every part of the game. That has to be fixed going forward. But they got to find a way to get up tempo. And this is kind of a bonus takeaway too, Mitch, but there doesn't seem to be a clear identity yet of who does what, what's the rotation, who starts, what roles do you fill, and I don't want to – there's no one to blame for this, Mitch, because the injuries have really set this team back. There's maybe that's not what BYU fans want to hear, but it's the reality. They've played so few games together, it's hard to get a sense of what your best starting five is, who's your sixth man, where do certain guys fit in certain roles. We have no clue what that is right now. Because of the injuries, they've got to find that because there's talented players here on this team that you don't know what they're going to do and when they're going to play, and that's got to be defined. And if that's Mawot Mag playing more minutes, I'm all for it. Whoever's playing well, I just think it's hard for some players, Mag, Catchings, Baker, Hall even, hard to get in a rhythm, hard to get in a flow when you don't really know what your role is and how many minutes you're going to play.
Central Bank serving Utah County for over 133 years with trusted service, modern technology, and personalized care. Central Bank, proud sponsor of Cougar Nation. What does BYU basketball need to do to snap its 3-game losing streak? Let's take your phone calls, 801-575-8255. Again, that's 801-575-TALK. right here on Cougar Nation on KSL News Radio.
For over 133 years, Central Bank has been a cornerstone of Utah County, providing generations of families and businesses with trusted community banking services and are more than just a bank. Central Bank is part of Utah's legacy. With 12 convenient locations across Utah County, Central Bank combines the strength of traditional customer service with the convenience of modern technology. Customized one-to-one service means you're never just another account number, and your phone call actually rings to a real person.
Hi there, thanks for calling Central Bank.
Voted best bank and best mortgage in Utah Valley, Central Bank is here to help you with all your financial needs. From top SBA lending services for small businesses and quick turnaround times on construction loans. They're dedicated to helping you build your future. Whether you're cheering for the Cougars or building your dream home, trust the bank that's been here since the beginning. Central Bank, strong, local, secure, since 1891. Online at cbutah.com or any of 12 Utah County locations. Central Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Once upon a time, two children stumbled upon a magical house made entirely of candy, but all was not as sweet as it seemed. Join us at Capitol Theater this January and journey into the enchanted world of Utah Opera's Hansel and Gretel, where gingerbread dreams meet high-stakes adventures. The stage will sparkle, the music will soar, and you'll relive the fairy tale you grew up with a twist. Tickets start at $21 and under 30 save 50%. Get yours at utahopera.org.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
At the Utah Auto Expo, we have a vehicle for almost everything. Off-roading, sports car riding, camper pulling, snow skiing, and adventure seeking. Heck, we have a whole section for adventure seekers called Adventure Utah. The Auto Expo has a vast selection of vehicles from different manufacturers all in one place. It's a great place to comparative shop. We have a vehicle for almost everything, and we certainly have a vehicle for your thing. The Utah Auto Expo, Mountain America Expo Center, January 17th through the 20th. Plenty of free parking for your current car. Go to AutoExpoUtah.com for tickets.
Febreze. So my home is also my office, and before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up, then spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Welcome to Staples.
I am so pumped. My business is going to kill it this year.
Awesome. How can I help?
First, a new computer.
With Staples Home and Office Hot Deals, you save big on tech.
And new posters.
Save on custom printing, too.
And,
a new chair?
A chair? Who has time to sit?
Maybe all your new clients?
Now you're talking.
With Staples Home and Office Hot Deals, you'll find huge savings on custom prints, storage, chairs, and tech. And now save up to $175 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends 2/1.
Our military faces a crisis. Recruitment down. Morale weak. Our leaders more focused on going woke than killing terrorists and defending America. President Trump nominated Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense to change things. Hegseth isn't an insider or a swamp dweller. He's a decorated veteran of the United States Army who deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. And he's exactly who we need leading the Department of Defense. Hegseth will ban woke nonsense from our armed forces, strengthen our military, and make our soldiers proud to serve. Call your United States Senator at 202-224-3121. Tell them stand with Trump. Confirm Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. Again, call your senator at 202-224-3121. Tell them to vote to confirm Pete Hegseth and make our military great again. Paid for by American Leadership PAC.
How many things affect your life as much as slow traffic and bad weather? Listen tomorrow morning for traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back into Cougar Nation here on KSL News Radio. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte with you every Monday night, 6 to 7. We're live taking your phone calls on BYU basketball. We also hold it down on Saturdays, Cougar Sports Saturday, noon to 3 here on the Legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio. BYU basketball looks to end a 3-game losing streak tomorrow against Oklahoma State. Pre-game at 6, tip-off at 7 here on KSL. And it begs the question, Matt, what does BYU basketball need to do to snap its 3-game losing streak? We're asking Cougar Nation, 801-575-8255 in the text line as well. What say you? What do you think they need to do?
Oh my goodness, there's so many ways you can go with this because there's a lot of problems right now. There's a lot of things going wrong. But for me, I feel like they got to go back to last year's recipe a little bit. They need to take and make more threes. Now, you can't always control the make part of it, but you can control the taking part of it. And earlier in the year, Mitch, Kevin Young talked about how he wants them to shoot a lot of threes. Like, this team has the green lights. Don't get it twisted, Cougar Nation. Last year's team and this year's team, I think Coach Young wants to play more like last year's team than they're playing. And I think some of that is turnovers, which we touched on. Some of that's just pure execution. We've heard Kevin Young talk about this for weeks now, just not executing the game plan, whether it's that's defensively or offensively. But 9 of 24, they shot 38% from three, Mitch. So get up another 7 or 8 threes. If you go 12 of 32, you win that game. But they're just not taking enough three-point shots. So I want them to take more threes. I want them to mimic last year's team a little bit more. Take more. I think you'll make more. There's good three-point shooters on this team. Guys that are better than they showed against TCU. Trevin Nell, Dawson Baker, they only made one apiece. That's not going to be the norm. But if you're only taking 24 as a team, you can't expect to be shooting 50% from three. The volume's got to increase for me if they want to get out of this losing streak. Now, you go a lot of different ways, but that's something that is very controllable. Just take more three-point shots because I do believe this team has a lot of good and capable three-point shooters.
You bring up three-point shooting. BYU goes 9 of 24 against TCU, as you noted. 5 of 7 for Richie Saunders. The rest of the team, 4 of 17. Richie Saunders playing at an all Big 12 level, 26 in the win over TCU, or excuse me, the loss against TCU, Kevin Young praised Richie Saunders for his play and feels like he's living up to what he envisioned Richie would be as they got him out of the transfer portal.
I mean, he's as talented as any wing in the country. I really believe that. I've been steadfast about my opinion on him. He's made of the right stuff. He can shoot the ball. He competes. He's got to sometimes, compete less and think more on the defensive end, but that's, I think, growth for him. But, yes, it is what I expected, and he's answered the call so far. Now I think the challenge for him, it's different when you're a guy who's, not the number one guy on the scouting report. All of a sudden, you're the key guy. Now, can you still get things done even when they're keying to stop you? And that's a challenge for him, and that's a challenge for me to continue to try to put him in the positions to, get the same types of looks when things are ratcheted up against him.
Matt, I love Richie Saunders. I think he is just so entertaining every single night. But I'll admit I get a little worried when I hear Richie might be the number one guy on a scouting report, because to me, if BYU is going to get to the dance and play in the NCAA tournament and be a threat in the Big 12 race here, which that already is slipping away, being at 3 losses, you need Yegor, you need Cannon Catchings, even Dallin Hall to be atop that scouting report. Do you get a little concerned with that Richie's maybe that number one guy right now?
Absolutely, because that's not his game, and that's okay, because there's a lot of great players in college basketball and in the NBA that make a lot of money and have nice long careers being great role players. Richie is one of the best role players, and in some ways he's more than that. He's shown this year, Mitch, that he can score.
Yep.
But as we also saw at the end of that game, and that was a bang play, him sliding out of bounds, like that was not intentional. Those are the kind of turnovers that you hate, but that wasn't a bad pass. It was just an unfortunate situation, but I don't think that's Richie's game, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Richie's game is exactly what he's doing right now. High energy, get to the rim on some cuts, shoot some open threes. That's Richie's game. To me, the guy that needs to emerge as the go-to guy, it's Dallin Hall. We saw that last year against Kansas, and that doesn't mean he always has to score. But Dallin Hall has a great ability to finish at the rim. He can get to the rim. He's creative around the rim, passing it off to Keita and Foose. He's good at corner passes to get guys looks in the corner. To me, at the end of games, until Yegor plays better, it's got to run through Dallin Hall. Just end of story. That guy's experienced. He's done it before. He's had numerous games in his career that he has won, going back to his freshman year at the beginning of his career, getting to the rim and having that game where I can't even remember. Bo Diddley Tech, I don't remember who it was. But this guy has shown an ability to make plays at the end of games. I want it to be Dallin Hall. I don't think it can be Richie. And that's not because Richie's not capable. I just think Richie is better cast in a different role.
And I think Richie, eventually might have a chance, with another year at BYU, might have a chance to be an NBA guy. I really believe that. I think Richie's becoming a special player. I get a little bit worried, though, at the thought of maybe even Dallin Hall being potentially the number one guy, too. Because
who's it going to be?
Because to me, Matt, I think we already know what the veteran BYU team can do, and they're good. They're solid. They're competitive. They're going to be a tough out every night in the Big 12. But to me, that untapped potential has to be realized with these young guns and Demon and Catchings.
They're not ready, Mitch. We've seen
Well, they need to be force-fed. I think if you're going to go down, you're going to go down with a bad record no matter what. Go down with the young cats, man, because
they might not even be here. They might be going to the league.
That's okay. You got to exhaust that, though, man, because I don't want to see, a year from now you go, oh, man, what could they have been if BYU maybe unleashed those guys a little bit more? I think you got to go down swinging with them and
they've been
and
plenty
Catchings.
Unleashed, Mitch. They have been given all the runway.
But
in
against
the world.
who though? BYU's not. I think the element here that we haven't addressed tonight, and we talked about it in other shows, but the non-conference schedule was such a weak slate, and with all the in and out personnel wise with injuries. It just left BYU feeling incomplete. And Kevin Young warned us a few weeks ago that he was concerned that there was going to be a bit of a filling out process for this team in Big 12 play when you want to hit the ground running. He forecasted this. So I'll give Kevin Young credit. Like, he kind of sensed the moment that he was going to have some struggles because coming out of non-conference, he just didn't really know what he had. And I just feel like we still don't truly know what Demon and Catchings are because the opposition that they faced and this whole team faced in non-conference play, which is one of the worst in college basketball. It was a weak non-conference slate, so I just still feel like there's a little bit of an incomplete of what those guys are, and I think there's still a bit of an adjustment period for them with the physicality of the Big 12. I still think you got to go down with those guys.
Hey, I'm not saying bench them. I'm just saying if you're talking about the situation that BYU was in the last two losses, I'm saying in that final minute, run through the vets. Now, if Yegor can get out of the slump and show us his potential and play consistent basketball, sure, I'm fine to run things through him. But the reason I don't think Yegor's ready to be the guy is I don't believe that's the strength of his game right now. I think the strength of his game right now is getting out in the open court and making things happen in the fast break and also doing it in the half court. But I do think his fast break game is a little ahead of his half court game right now at the college level. I'm just not confident in Yegor at this current moment to deliver in a clutch moment. And that's why I hesitate to say run through the young guys. And Cannon, to me, is still trying to develop that dog mentality. His athleticism is off the charts. It is impressive. But he's a really young kid, Mitch. We need to remember that with Cannon and even Yegor to a certain extent. This is high-pressure, high-level basketball to the likes of which they've never seen. And look, I think college basketball has a lot more stress than high-level European ball. This is a different game altogether, and it's we're out of time. Like, I would love to do what you're doing, but we're just out of time. This team has to start winning games, Mitch.
Kevin Young is keeping that perspective as they go through this tough stretch, and he's trying to remain positive despite these struggles.
You guys have been covering sports a long time. You know how fragile sports are, right? And I'm not saying this to try to make myself feel better. But, you're probably, and this is just the reality of it, you're one turnover less away from beating Ole Miss, who's a really good team, top 25 team. You're probably one made three away from beating Texas Tech at home, who went on and probably should have beat Iowa State, third best team in the country. You're one turnover away from getting a good road win at TCU. All of a sudden, you're 3-1 in the Big 12. You just beat a SEC team in November, right? But we're not. We're on the other side of that.
It's good perspective. We'll talk more BYU basketball, what they need to do to fix their woes right now as they're navigating a 3-game losing streak. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte with you. We're taking your phone calls, 801-575-8255, right here on Cougar Nation on KSL News Radio.
Good evening. It's 6:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. KSL's top local story. A confrontation between two drivers in Midvale ended with one man in jail after police say he pointed a gun at the other driver and his family.
35-year-old Ivan Vakauta was arrested on charges of aggravated assault, reckless driving, and making a threat of violence with road rage penalty enhancements. Police say the confrontation started on I-15 when Vakauta allegedly cut off another driver, brake-checked him and his family multiple times, leading to a gas station where he allegedly pointed a handgun at them before driving off. 6 months after the road rage enhancement law took effect, Senator Todd Weiler, one of the bill's sponsors, said no law is perfect and may need adjustments over time, but he believes it is doing what they intended.
And we're trying to get people to say, wait a second, is this really worth it?
Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden says that Israel and Hamas are on the brink of a ceasefire deal.
Palestinian people deserve peace and the right to determine their own futures. Israel deserves peace and real security.
He says the agreement would free the hostages and end the fighting. Coming up, it's going to be a cold night in store. KSL's weather forecast is on the way next. KSL News Time, 6:31.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Sign up for KSL Text Alerts. Get breaking news and traffic updates by texting the word news to 57500. Want access to exclusive contests? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking jazz updates. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply.
The best parts of KSL News Radio are so easy to use in the car. Catch the biggest stories affecting Utah's communities throughout the morning. If you miss a newscast, the next one is just a few minutes away. Plus, we have traffic updates every 10 minutes on the 9s like clockwork. We try to make it easy for your commute, mornings and afternoons. Rely on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by My Style Checking from Mountain America Credit Union. Here's Ricky Meese.
We had an accident reported in Utah County, southbound I-15 in the Springville area. Looks like it was already moved out of traffic. Really hasn't caused any slowing, but we do have some leftover heavy and slow traffic southbound I-15 going through Draper. The rest of your Salt Lake County freeways have cleared out. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL weather forecast, any snow showers you might see, that'll end. We're headed down to 20 degrees overnight for tomorrow. You get a little bit of sunshine and 35 right now. 30 in Salt Lake City. I'm Jeff Kaplan, KSL News Radio 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Be ready for BYU Game Day. Download the KSL News Radio app to stream BYU games, plus breaking news during the week. That's the app for KSL News Radio.
And BYU Game Days tomorrow. Cougs take on Oklahoma State at the Marriott Center, 7 p.m. tip. Then Saturday, they're taking on Utah at the Huntsman Center, 7 p.m. tip as well. Both games here on KSL News Radio. We'll have coverage on KSLSports.com, myself, Mitch Harper, and Matt Baiamonte, as we cover the Cougs inside and out throughout this season. Every Monday here, we're holding it down, taking your phone calls on 801-575-8255. You know, Matt, watching right here in studio, watching your LA Rams holding it down. They're up 7-0 on the Vikings. So some good times for your Rams. Not so good times for BYU basketball right now. Let's size it up and what's trending up and trending down for the Cougs.
Cougar Nation, trending. What's trending up and what's trending down this season?
I'll start things off, Mitch. Trending up. Let's start off on a high note because I'm feeling a little bit better about that commentary we just heard from Kevin Young, where if a few things go differently, they're 3-1, not 1-3. We're having a very different conversation. So I think that is good perspective. Barring the blowout against Houston and Providence, the rest of their losses have come down to the wire. And for a team that is there's so many new pieces, it takes time to figure out how to win. So maybe get these bumps out of the way, and it helps that the schedule's soft right now, too. You got to beat Oklahoma State. You got to beat Utah. And then you got to beat Colorado. You do those things. You maybe find some momentum and some rhythm. You're right back in a good spot. Trending up for me, though, is rebounding. BYU is 8th. I don't know if you knew this, but BYU is 8th in the country in a rebounding margin. Now, that number is inflated due to that soft schedule that they had in the non-conference play that you noted, Mitch. But they are a top rebounding team, even in the Big 12. They were plus 11 against TCU. How they were plus 11 on the boards and gave up so many more field goals, that's like a math problem I can't seem to compute. Like, my brain's like, more rebounds, less field goals, error. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But they got to rebound better. In that loss against Texas Tech, they were out-rebounded by 3. They were out-rebounded in the second half by 2. They just win the rebounding battle against Texas Tech. Do they win that game? Like, they've got to be better on the glass, specifically Foose and Jaeger. The Jaeger is too tall to be pulling down 2 rebounds a game. That's ridiculous. Like, the guards have got to get in there and rebound, but I liked what I saw on the glass against TCU. They can build off of that this week.
For me, trending up is Richie Saunders, who we talked about earlier. And just to kind of drill down some stats and notes on Richie, he's 5th in the Big 12 in conference play in points per game. He's averaging 17.8 points per game in Big 12 action. He's 3rd in field goal percentage. He's 2nd in the league in effective field goal percentage. You look at his true shooting percentage, that's an advanced stat. During Big 12 play, he's shooting the ball, true shooting percentage, 72.9%. Richie is playing at a high level. He always brings the energy, but he's just highly efficient right now. He's knocking down big shots. He had that shot late in the TCU game. It was about 2 minutes ago. He takes a hard foul. Looked like he got banged up for a moment. He's on the floor, and you're thinking, oh, my gosh, if he goes down, where does this team go without Richie? But he gets back up, knocks down 2 free throws. He's critical for BYU, and I just think he is trending up. And I do believe, as I said earlier, I think he's working his way to becoming potentially an NBA guy. Last week, Kevin Young said on the Coaches Show, which you can hear on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. here on KSL, he compared Richie to Alex Caruso, and I thought that was kind of an interesting comparison. I love the comparisons that Kevin Young brings up with players because he's an NBA guy. So he refers to all these NBA players, and I love it. He's not afraid to draw those comps, and I think there's a lot of similarities between the two.
Caruso's a great comparison because he's a great defender. He's become a good three-point shooter. He's a winning player. That's exactly what Richie is. He's playing great basketball. We just need a few other guys to play consistent basketball. Trending down for me, Mitch, is, and this one is a real surprise to me, situational basketball has not been good in conference play, and I thought BYU would take a step forward in that regard under Kevin Young, because Kevin Young, let's not forget, in the NBA, Kevin Young was a kind of a de facto offensive coordinator, right? Like this dude was drawing up plays, out of timeout plays, trying to get guys good looks. Like that's still his strength and his specialty. Why that hasn't translated to this year's team yet, I think there's a few reasons for it. Number one, the injuries, it's not a sexy topic, but it's an impactful conversation, Mitch, because they're not getting repetitions together because so many people are missing. It's hard to get those valuable reps. When Kevin Young talked about the group that stood out against TCU, you played that clip earlier. It was Richie, Foose, Dallin Hall, Trevin. What do all these guys have in common? They played a lot of basketball together, for heaven's sake. So I think that's one of the reasons situational basketball has been bad. But it's trending in the wrong direction because we've seen it in multiple games now. They have to be good out of timeouts. Kevin Young has called late timeouts in these games, and the execution is not there. It's turnovers. It's stepping out of bounds. It's taking a bad shot. Like, that's situational basketball that they have to be better at. And until they get better in these moments, they're going to keep dropping these games. And that's a concern for me, primarily because I thought they would be better this year, and it just has not translated.
You have to wonder, too, if there's a bigger learning curve than we thought, too, for Kevin Young in navigating college basketball. Like, Kevin Young knows a ton about basketball. The guys can have success. Like, this is going to be, and I do believe this will be we'll look back on this and go, this was a blip on the radar for a guy that's going to be very successful at BYU. I do believe that. But I think back to, we had a conversation with Dave Rose on Cougar Sports Saturday, and he kind of pointed out, like, there's just things administrative-wise in college basketball that you would never think of in the NBA that you just kind of have to juggle. And I think BYU's got the system in place to where Kevin Young's not having to do everything. Like, Doug Stewart's critical with the chief of staff, and a lot of guys on that staff handle their roles, but it's still a big undertaking to be the guy, to navigate personalities and egos and make sure this locker room's okay. And I think that's still in a good place. But I think that has been maybe a steeper learning curve, maybe, and it's been a little bit tougher than I think we would have thought. I would have never expected BYU to be 1-3 to start out Big 12 play. I would have thought at a minimum 2-2. And I think more than that too, I thought they would have been competitive at Houston. I thought they would not have lost at home to Texas Tech. So it's just kind of the nuances within these games have kind of left people feeling very surprised by this 1-3 start. And I think what's hurt BYU's chances of winning games is the perimeter defense. Teams are still knocking down at least 9 threes a game, against BYU in Big 12 play. The past 2 games, Texas Tech and TCU each knocked down 9. Houston had 16. The only game that BYU's won in Big 12 play was Arizona State. They only had 6 3-pointers. BYU's allowing its opponents 43% of their points against BYU in Big 12 play are coming from the three-point line. That's number 1 in the league by a wide margin. So BYU's got to do a better job defending the three. I think things will get better this week, Matt, because the schedule eases up a tick in Big 12 play, but this league's pretty wild where anything can happen.
Some of it, though, Mitch, is you got to just compete at a higher level. I don't know that, speaking defensively, that this team is always locked in and engaged.
Yeah.
And I think Kevin Young echoed that earlier today. This is what he had to say about his team playing high-level basketball every possession.
Playing harder than the guy in front of you, number one. Just having a more of a consistent competitive spirit. I don't think that we're non-competitive, but I think, some of our young guys have to understand that it's in every possession mentality with that grit that I'm talking about. And then part of grit and mental toughness is executing the game plan possession after possession.
Why? The game plan thing to me is a hard one to swallow. Is it too complicated from an NBA perspective? Is it there's so many new pieces and things to learn that they're thinking too much and they're not reading and reacting? This isn't the first time Kevin Young has talked about game plan miscues. We're too far in the season to be having game plan miscues. You talk about last Tuesday when they lost to the Red Raiders. The game plan was to double team that cat that was taking them one-on-one in the post that they couldn't stop, and yet they didn't do it. So that one to me is a tough pill to swallow, because if the coach is saying do X, Y, and Z, and that's not happening, where's the disconnect, Mitch?
And that's where I think, it'll be interesting to see if they do lean more heavily down the stretch to the veteran-laden group. Because, at the end of the day, Hall, Nell, Mag, Foose, they've all navigated seasons where they're getting to the NCAA tournament or winning at a high level. And they can win games. And they've done it even in the Big 12, too. And I think that's going to be, the big storyline this week is, does BYU lean more to those veteran players that have done it at the college level? There is nuance between winning in college and winning at the NBA. I still believe, Matt, that Yegor, despite these struggles in college, will still be viewed as a high draft pick. I think because of his measurables and what he did at Real Madrid, and I think this will be maybe a blip on the radar for him, potentially. I don't know. We'll see.
He can't keep playing like this and get drafted in the lottery.
I agree. I feel like but sometimes the NBA just has almost like they know about prospects, like when they're 15, 16, they say that's the next big thing, and they're going to be a top pick no matter what. But Yegor's got to get better, and I hope that with this stretch of games coming up where you've got 4 games that I think BYU should win. And I think that's why none of us on this show are hitting the panic meter, the button right yet, because these next stretch of games, BYU is the better team. They're going to be the favorite in probably all these games. You lose these, then it's
over.
Then it's time to hit the panic button.
Yeah.
You go, where do you go next with this season, and how do you want to finish this thing out? So Oklahoma State tomorrow night, you better win that one. You lose that, season could be toast. So that's why I'm still confident that this team can turn it around, because I just like that the schedule is going to ease up. I do think Texas Tech and Houston are 2 of the best teams in this league. Houston, I think, is in the top 6 of teams in this conference, and Houston in the top 2 right behind Iowa State. Let's take our final timeout. We'll get to some of your texts. We got a lot of texts coming in, 57500. You can also get on board with us on the phone line, 801-575-8255. Cougar Nation, sponsored by Central Bank, serving Utah County for over 133 years with trusted service, modern technology, and personalized care. Central Bank here on Cougar Nation on KSL News Radio.
You wouldn't know it, but most financial advisors are put in a box. I'm Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I want to provide you a little insight about financial advisors. Most financial advisors have to sell what their company requires them to sell, and many advisors have to only adhere to what's called a suitability standard. A suitability standard is a limited standard of care, not requiring what's sold to be best, just suitable. Advisors with this loose standard often have limited investment and product selection. Trajan Wealth is held to a fiduciary standard, which is the highest standard of care in the advisory business. And that's just one of the many reasons we have billions of dollars under our care and attract clients from other advisors. Raise your standards today and call Trajan Wealth. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side, your Sleep Number setting. And now it's our lowest price of the season on our top-selling i8 smart bed. Your best savings, plus special financing. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Progressive knows we all crave validation.
Girl, you are not 37.
I would have guessed 27.
You guys are too sweet.
Sure, dewy skin. Terrific.
Is something wrong, Ned?
Why would you ask? Just because today marks my 10th anniversary without a car accident or even a speeding ticket? But somehow, tonight's all about your skincare.
Wow. With Snapshot from Progressive, you can get a personalized rate based on how you drive. And that's all the validation you need. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents. Surcharge possible for unsafe driving.
Start the new year with J&J Garden Center's Plantastic Sales Event and experience a beautiful garden inside your home right now. This Monday through Saturday, shop the stock greenhouses at J&J Garden Center and enjoy 20% off all indoor plants, pots, and black gold all-purpose potting mix. Houseplants add to the beauty of your home, and they can also boost your mood, reduce stress, and purify indoor air. It's true. Plants make people happy. Shop the J&J Garden Center greenhouses for classic favorites and rare finds. The expert J&J Garden Center team will help you pick the perfect plant for any light condition and area of your home. J&J Garden Center open year-round with special winter hours Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Start the new year with J&J Garden Center's Plantastic Sales Event. Take Layton Parkway exit to Main Street and head west on Gentile Street in Layton. J&J Garden Center.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Are you on your feet a lot? When traveling, do you find yourself sitting for long periods of time? Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical, and we have compression stockings that can help you. Our compression stockings are designed to improve circulation, reduce swelling, and provide unmatched comfort. Come check out all the different styles and fabrics. These aren't your great-grandparents' compression stockings. That's why we're excited to offer an amazing deal. Buy 3 pairs of compression stockings and get a free care kit. That's right, 3 pairs of compression stockings and get a free care kit. Come into any of our 11 locations and invest in your health this winter by embracing the benefits of compression. For more details, visit us at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Join your friends who rely on KSL each morning for the fastest routes to work and school.
I am listening for the traffic.
I'll always know if somebody's going to be late to work.
That's often what's on when I'm driving.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s.
On KSL News Radio.
Cougar fans, use this radio station tomorrow morning for important news updates. Listen to Utah's most important radio station tomorrow morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Cougar Nation, sponsored by Central Bank. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte with you here. BYU basketball in a tough spot right now. 1-3 in Big 12 play, 10-5 overall. They are outside of many bracketology projections. If that's, that's still a long way to go. There's still a lot of basketball left.
There's plenty of quad one opportunities left.
No question, but the time is ticking, Matt, and BYU has to get a win tomorrow night against Oklahoma State. Look, they're all must wins. I believe that any loss is always tough. But tomorrow feels like if you lose that one, a team that got hammered by 20-plus to Utah on Saturday, Oklahoma State, if you lost that one, goodness gracious, it could be close-up shop maybe on the season. So if there was ever a must-win, it feels like tomorrow night.
Yeah, this is the type of game where if all goes well, you score 90 points, multiple guys shoot the ball well, you find some rhythm, you build on that, then you go on the road, you get your first road win against Utah, then you go to Colorado, another winnable game. If you win these 3, and maybe Yegor bounces back and you find some rotational lineups that you can settle down with, then all is not lost. There's still great opportunities ahead. There's some great teams coming to the Marriott Center. That place is going to be rocking. They take down at Kansas. Arizona hasn't been great, but if you get in Arizona, that'll still always look good in the eyes of some. There's plenty of opportunities. This light Big 12 slate that's coming this week, it's exactly what this team needs, but they cannot struggle. They have to, dare I even say, Mitch, they have to win convincingly. Like they can't just they can't just eke out a 2-point win against Oklahoma State at home. You have to thump them and get back to playing BYU basketball, more up-tempo, more threes, less turnovers, better free throw shooting. They do those things. Look, it's not, as Kevin Young said earlier, it's not all doom and gloom, but this is the key week. It's light, get back to winning, get back to playing good basketball, and they'll be in a good position.
The concerns for BYU, too, we haven't seen this team win a true road game. So you have got to, defend home court more than ever because they are 0-3 in true road games. So here's the next 4 games coming up. You've got Tuesday night tomorrow, 7 p.m. tip here on KSL, BYU, Oklahoma State. Saturday against Utah. Tuesday on the road at Colorado, who's winless in league play. And then Saturday, January 25th at the Marriott Center, revenge opportunity against Cincinnati, who also is winless, and they were a preseason top 25 team. These are games you have to win to get back on track. And to your point about tomorrow night, yes, you need to hammer Oklahoma State, similar to what you did against Arizona State back on New Year's Eve. I think that would be a nice step in the right direction for this BYU team to get a little bit of confidence going into that Utah game. And I know tomorrow night's going to be a big one for BYU, but maybe your early thoughts on Saturday, BYU and Utah. Utes coming off their first win as a Big 12 program on Saturday against Oklahoma State. But your thoughts on that matchup in the Huntsman Center coming up this weekend?
Should be a blowout, Mitch.
A blowout, huh?
I don't see, if you just go 1 through 8 across the roster, even with guys like Demon playing poorly and catchings kind of up and down, hot and cold, is there one matchup, 1 through 8, that you think Utah has an advantage? Because before the season you would have said Gabe Madsen over Richie, but you can't say that right now.
No.
Richie's playing much better than Gabe Madsen. So where does Utah have any opportunity to take advantage of something BYU does? The only way BYU loses is if they put up Yegor Demon-like shooting numbers since his injury, 9% from 3 and 28% for the field. Otherwise, I think BYU wins convincingly.
Former BYU signee Jake Wallin had a career high in their win over the weekend. He got a start over the weekend. He had 16 points against Oklahoma State, so he's one to watch. He's playing some good basketball for Utah as of late. Then Ezra Soar, the East Carolina transfer. But I think you're right. I mean, BYU's the better team, but I don't see it being a blowout, Matt. I think it's going to come down to the wire. I was looking up some stats.
You're kidding me. Be down to the wire?
It's a toss-up game.
It's not a toss-up game.
Ken Palm has BYU favored by 1.
Ken Palm is not the end-all, be-all. He's got some nice advanced analytics, but he's not Nostradamus.
Well, we know that. I mean, he said BYU was just going to get the easiest draw ever playing Duquesne. We saw that happen. Well, how that worked out. Jeez. But I was looking up some stats of BYU at the Huntsman Center. They've only, since that Jimmer game where he buried it from 40 feet. What was the call that Greg had?
From 40 feet!
Yeah! He got it! Oh, man! Something like that. BYU's only won there twice.
Mark Durant in the background.
They've only won there twice since that game. That was the first year in the WCC when Utah was a 6-win team. And then, let's see, 3 years ago, when BYU went there, Caleb Lohner, they had that 6-0 start. BYU football was playing that same night against USC. That's it, though, Matt. They've only won twice. You've got to go back to find the last 10 wins over Utah in the Huntsman Center. Do you know how far back you have to go to find the last 10 wins in the Huntsman Center?
Well, now that you've framed the conversation in this regards, I'm going to say 1993.
1985. You got to go back 40 years to find 10 wins in the Huntsman Center. So I'm saying BYU always kind of struggles in that building, and I think that's going to come down to the wire. Just find a way to win it. Get a perfect week.
The guy who swung last year's game, though, was playing in blue.
That is true. Keba Keita, and he's going to be a big factor for BYU. What are your thoughts on Keba as we start to wrap things up?
He needs to play more. I
agree.
I think his offensive shortcomings are being overblown. He's the best rebounder on the team. He's the only shot blocker on the team. And quite frankly, Foose, who I like on the offensive end, he's been bad defensively. And he's not rebounding well enough. So late game, I know that you're not going to get any O from Keita, but I would play him in big spots.
Some text coming in. What does BYU basketball need to do to snap its 3-game losing streak? Texter 0169 says, play as a team, practice free throws, and shoot with more confidence. Dominate boards. Free throws are a good point. BYU, you got to knock those things down. They're free.